winner is like punches you in the mouth almost. They are so. It's always tough to rank them, but normally that number one has a little extra juice, whatever it is, uh, in their presentation, um, their maturity, their poise.
Hi again, and we welcome you into episode 3 of Next Level Sportscasting. We're joined by the 2009 winner of the Jim Nantz Award and a man that's judged over 10 of these Jim Nantz Awards in his time as well, Adam Cavalier. Adam, how has the Nantz Award evolved from when you won it back in 2009 to where it's at now?
Well, one, I don't know if I'm touching the thing now. The quality of person that applies for the award now is truly incredible. And I say that there was some talent in my year. Adam Amin was in that class. Brian Bush doing Michigan basketball was in that class. Joe Davis was in that class. But there were. I am always astounded by how good uh, the winners are, and some of the All America class as well. They have no business being that good for um, a 20 to 22-year-old kid. And the other thing I think that's noteworthy is how varied the skill sets uh, are. When I won for, I had radio play-by-play and some sports talk stuff. Now you're getting that. You're getting some folks that have your TV reporting. It's really high level stuff. Uh, and I think the year that I won it, everybody that was in the top six was a play by play guy. That's not the case anymore. There's going to be somebody whose cream rises to the top as uh, a host, a reporter. It's not just radio play by play. It's not just TV play by play anymore.
What do you remember about the announcement of when you won the award?
So that is a tremendous story. Uh, I was covering. I was still, obviously, I was still a student at the time, so I was covering a Marshall football practice, and it was spring practice, and we had all been refreshing the web STAA a lot, trying to figure out when it was going to be announced. I don't think John had actually put out like, "Hey, it's going to be announced at such and such a time." It was just at some point it was going to appear. And I'm covering this football practice. I'm getting ready to interview somebody. And my station manager, Alex Reed, called and said, "Man, congrats. You got it." Like, what are you talking about, man? You won the Nats. And I was shocked. But apparently, John had inadvertently scheduled the website to go live early. And by the time I got done covering that practice, I don't think I had an iPhone at the time. I think I had one of those old, Motorola flip phones. So it's not like I could pull out my phone and check the website. And it really sickens me that this story is that dated. Just let me make that point too. But by the time I got back to WMUL, my student radio station, it had been taken down. And I thought, oh no, this is some cruel prank. Somebody's playing a joke on me, whatever. And I think I had to wait another month to actually find out that I had won the thing, which in itself was super cool. I was up for one of the Hearst Awards, which is a big collegiate radio news reporting deal. That I was a finalist for. I got flown out to San Francisco. You had to produce a story for some spot news competition in San Francisco one of 5 people in the country doing this on the radio side. And I was literally in the edit bay editing this story together when John called to inform me that I had won the Nantz while I'm competing for this other, for the Hearst Award for the nation's top collegiate radio news reporter. And at that point, I was just house money. I got the one that I wanted in the Nantz. I finished second in the Hearst. And I know that everybody, I think Alex Faust was the first one that actually got to accept it at the National Sports Writers Sportscasters Association deal in Salisbury, North Carolina at the time. I think John Twerk and I are the only two that got the calls. But I would not trade that experience of getting that call while that Hearst Award came with a $5,000 door prize that I was out competing for. And so to get that call while I was putting together this story for that completely took any pressure off of, winning, losing, anything there, because I got the one that I wanted of the two. But it was a long month. It had to have at least been a month, because the Hearst Awards were in June. Marshall Spring Practice would have been in April. It appeared and then it disappeared, and then I had to sit and wonder, is it real? And didn't want to reach out and say, hey, I saw this. And just kidding, it's not you. It was the other guy. But I truly one of the most, it has since been surpassed by Marriage and Children. But early on, one of the most memorable days of my professional career.
Winning the award back in 2009 to now, how have you been able to develop relationships by winning the Jim Nantz Award?
I think early on, it gave me a bit of legitimacy. There's no doubt that it gave me legitimacy. I got to walk into arenas, and instead of being the punk kid who was broadcasting Marshall women's basketball at the time or filling in for the main Herd radio network, I now, oh yeah, you're still a punk kid, but you've at least confirmed that you've got some degree of chops. So it opened some doors that way. I've been at Carson-Newman Broadcasting, and this is year 13 for me. I know it helped get me in the door here. The AD at the time, Alan Morgan, said, oh yeah, we can get the nation's best. Let's get that guy. So without question that it helped me land the job that I have now, and probably gave a degree of unearned gravitas that this kid might know what he's talking about a little bit, while I got to figure out what I was actually talking about. It definitely helped from a networking standpoint early on. But now that is, I can assure you, old news. That is, anytime you said it, you've judged at least 10 of these. That makes me ill. The fact that it was 16 years ago, the passage of time makes me ill. So that's old news. It's a fun little nugget. The trophy sits in my office, and we hire young GAs that are fresh out of college, that they tend to be sportscasting adjacent, if not sportscasters themselves, and they'll look and see the trophy. Like, oh, you won one of those? Yeah, it was a long time ago, but yes.
You are still the only Marshall student to be a Jim Nantz top 20 All-American, so you got to get your Thundering Herd back in shape.
I know. Each year I ask the question, did anybody apply? Have you tossed your name in the ring? And they got to step it up. I'm telling you now. I wish it had been started 10 years earlier, because there's a lot of guys from the mid-2000s on that I would have loved to see where their names added up in that list. But they got to get it together now. Come on, Herd. Come on, WMUL. I can't be the only one.
Yeah, we'll get a second one of these days.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, you have judged a bunch of these. You have judged, almost I think 11 or 12 that we can kind of pinpoint in this time frame. What stands out to you when you sit down and pour over these tapes?
Normally, there's something that it's very nebulous, but typically, for me, the winner is like punches you in the mouth almost. They are so. It's always tough to rank them, but normally that number one has a little extra juice, whatever it is, uh, in their presentation, um, their maturity, their poise. It's tough to pinpoint one thing because it's different every year. Like when Evan Hughes won the thing, like it seemed like, oh, this isn't a normal kid. This sounds like some guy that's been broadcasting for a decade. I guess probably that's more um, than anything else the biggest deal. Like when Daryl Barnes was the winner last year, uh, what he was doing with his TV stuff. This is not stuff that a college kid should be producing. It's something that belongs um, in a professional major market. Pick whatever um, phraseology you want to use, uh, and it is so apparent that they belong uh, in that class of individual. Um, that's a little recency bias there. I don't. I think the year that Kevin Fitzgerald won was my first year judging. It's all of them have the same thing. All of them are you belong uh, in this industry, and it's unquestionable that you belong in the industry at a high level. And that's true of the other first team All Americans, the rest of the top six. Now, that separation between one and two, uh, there's they've got it, and I know that's not super helpful. Of you're putting together a tape to try to figure out what do I want to submit, but um, it's pretty clear. Um, I've always thought, at least, there's typically one that smacks you over the head with a frying pan, and like, oh man, this guy or girl uh, is really has the full package, the stuff to do this professionally.
A little over a month before we start accepting applications for this upcoming year, what advice would you give somebody as they start to get their tape ready for this year's version of the Jim Nantz Award?
I don't know that it's fair to give it with a month's notice, because it's something that I think you have to prepare for on down the road. Um, but you have to listen and watch and consume yourself to know where it is you need to get better, and constantly be seeking feedback from others of, hey, where am I deficient? Where do I need to improve and get better? And then with that knowledge and application, that is where you can trend toward putting together uh, a really killer reel. I think that's tough to do in a month. If you haven't been including that as a part of an ongoing process for improvement, that's pretty tough to come together in a month. But that's something that if you're a junior or a sophomore, you should unquestionably commit yourself to now, so that when the 2026 one runs around, you know exactly where to turn for your best material, and you know what that best material looks like. Because if it's February 11th when we're shooting this, if you haven't already produced your your reel, the chances of you finding something in that next month to include in it, it might happen, but it's not a guarantee. So it's all the quest for constant and continuous improvement and knowing where that improvement can come from, and then enacting on it so that very quickly you can identify, hey, this is my best work. This is why it's my best work, and this is why I want to put it forward to a committee that's going to determine this.
You mentioned an it factor for the winner, but for anybody that becomes an All-American,
Yeah,
what kind of specific things are you looking for when you sit down and watch these tapes?
I guess that's the one. So in my process in the judging, John gives us the final six. That's the stage that I join the fray. So I am purely helping determine the winner and the order of that top six. So I really can't speak terribly much to what's the difference between a first team All-American and a second team All-American. But that in the entirety of that top six is really, really strong. They have their nuts and bolts down pat. The basics are an afterthought for that group in a good way. They have what makes a solid broadcast, what makes a solid report, what makes a solid hosting segment. Off the cuff, they're good. And then it's that next level layer stuff that separates the Nantz winner from the others.
You won the award, so this might not be as easy of an answer to have. There's a lot of people that don't place as high as they might expect.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't even hear their name called when the Jim Nantz Award All-American lists come out. What kind of things would you say to those people as they begin either their next year of college or their professional careers?
Excuse me. I think one thing that's important to remember for everything that is art adjacent is that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So just because you're not included on a list, just because you're not a winner, doesn't mean your stuff is bad. That's why I say it's so critical to always be on a quest for self-improvement, because I remember one of the early pieces of feedback that I got as a sophomore, junior in college was I was yucking it up too much. I was putting on too much of that broadcaster, that stereotypical broadcaster voice. And by my senior year, I was working to eliminate that, and I'd gotten that piece of feedback from multiple people. So I would encourage, if you don't win, if you're not on the list, don't get discouraged. It's not the end of the world. I think my year is a great year to examine from that, because Joe Davis wasn't in the top 20. Joe Davis was an honorable mention guy, and that's the voice of the Dodgers. He replaced Vin Scully. So don't get discouraged. There's still an opportunity to go be a great broadcaster, even if you're not on that list, blah, blah, blah. Adam Amin, voice of the Bulls. I mean, come on. There's plenty of those types of folks that, yeah, they were on down the list. They didn't win. They might not have even been listed. But at the end of the day, if you care about the craft, you're willing to self-improve, you can get a job in this industry and make a living out of this as a career, which, if you're about this, that is a fine goal to have, and a fine thing to pursue. So definitely not something to get discouraged about if you're not listed. What I would get discouraged about is if I kept making the same mistakes. If I knew something in my tape was off, and I've been told multiple times that it was off, and I couldn't find a way to fix it, that's probably where I would start to get discouraged in myself.
Outside of the Nantz Award, outside of seeking some of this feedback, what should somebody that's in college be doing to amplify the opportunities that they have while they're in school to ensure that by the time that they graduate, they're prepared for the real world?
I mean, it's just like what we cover. You got to practice, right? Um, eh, I'm sitting in my office. The Carson-Newman men's basketball team is out in Holt Fieldhouse right now practicing. It's reps, right? Plain and simple. You have to go do this. And the beautiful thing about this is that the court at Holt Fieldhouse is 94 feet long. The court down the road in Knoxville at the Food City Center in Thompson Bowling Arena is 94 feet long. Might be a little bit different skill set comparison, but the game of basketball is the same. And that's true for pick your sport, baseball, softball, football, whatever. So don't let level be a barrier. Go out and just call games, or go out and host, go out and report. And if you think you've done it enough, you haven't. Go do it more. Somebody said this to me when I was in college, and I didn't believe it at the time. And now that I'm the father of two, I realize how right they are, or were. College is when you have more free time than any other period in your life. And at that point, I thought, you're out of your minds. I'm working at my campus radio station. I've got classes, yada, yada, yada. And now Adam Cavalier at 38 wants to punch Adam Cavalier at 20 for not appreciating how much free time he had. So if you feel like you're busy, you are, but there will be other things in life, marriage, children, jobs that you have to juggle. Take the opportunities now to go out and get reps, whether that's at a college radio station, at one of the things that didn't exist when I was coming up was you have all those student run or student adjacent productions with ACC Network Plus, SEC Network Plus, Big Ten Plus. Get involved with that. Go to your local high school and do games. I'm in Division II. I know there are ample opportunities at universities in Division II for people who are looking to call games. You can find the opportunities. You just got to work for it. And then when you get those opportunities, do it over and over and over and over and over again. And if you think you've done enough, you haven't. Keep doing it.
You mentioned working at Carson-Newman. You're the associate AD there. You've been there for 13 years. One of the big roles that you've had is hiring people within your roster. And you do it, you pretty uniquely compared to a lot of other schools where it's broadcast specific for a lot of those roles.
Yeah.
What sticks out to you when you sit down to look to hire for those areas?
The number one thing I'm looking for above all else is how that person is going to fit within our department. Tape is important. Skill set is important. But I want somebody who is going to gel well with us as a team and is going to be about the right things and doing the job at a high level. That is my number one thing. There have been more than a handful of people who I've hired whose tape wasn't the best of anybody that applied, but they were the best fit for our office, the coaches that they were going to be working with, and the job. And that's not to say they weren't my goal, and I don't think I've done this for anybody. I've not hired anybody that's been poor on air or bad on air. But there have been folks that have come through that their tape wasn't the best tape in that group. But we brought it when we interview everybody. I've felt like that person was the best fit for what it is that we do, or their commitment, their drive, there's something that separated the wheat from the chaff. That this person is going to be a touch better to work with than um, this other person, and more often than not, that's what it's come down to.
What advice would you give to college grads trying to be patient, looking for that right role, but also understanding they might have to end up at a D2. They might have to end up in the middle of nowhere, Montana, or wherever
Yeah.
it may be, and just getting that next step, getting that next job so that eventually you can get to the spot where you really want to be.
It's amusing to me because the advice, the trite advice at the time when I was graduating was, you got to go to Boise. Boise would be a great place to land now if you're the voice of the Broncos. I do think that still holds true, and it goes back to the reps thing. You've got to go to a place where you can get on air and be the guy time and time again. That was my attitude when I took the job here. That Carson-Newman afforded me an opportunity to be the guy and get the reps that I needed time and time again. And it's blossomed into something that I didn't think at the time when I took the job it would blossom into, which is an admin position in athletic administration, so on and so forth. And that goes back to a little bit of the old Frosty Westering has a quote. He was the head coach of Pacific University for a long time, one of a handful of guys to win 300 college football games. But his world-renowned quote is, "You got to make the big time where you are," and that has been something that I've tried to live each and every day that I do my thing here. But I think that that's something that is a very consequential piece of advice for anybody getting into it. It doesn't matter if you're going to Boise or Harv, Montana, or parts unknown in Nevada. Pick your off the beaten path place. Just go there, get your reps, make the big time where you are, make that place as best as it can possibly be, and then it is a pipe dream to think that you can go out of college and be the voice of, pick your dream club, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Reds, the New York Yankees. It ain't going to happen unless you are the luckiest person on the planet and hit the lottery. So it goes back to reps. get your reps wherever will have you and give you a lot of them, and then make that place the best it can possibly be. And if you do that, I promise you, good things will happen.
I want to piggyback off that point because I feel like so many times, I remember even my freshman year class, everybody was like, I want to be the Today Show. I want to be STN.
Yeah.
I want to be, shoot for the star level, of jobs. How do you personally define success as a sportscaster?
Now, to a degree, it's based on, and I'm blanking on the word. That's pitiful. This is pitiful. This is a senior moment that I'm having right now. You're just in a place when you can be in a place for a long time. Durability, I suppose. I think there's that's probably a little self-aggrandizing. But I think that if you can catch on with an audience for a long time, wherever that audience is, I think there's a lot to be said for that. At the end of the day, I'll go back to the old journalism school adage. Are you accurately telling the story of what you're broadcasting? You don't have gross factual errors. You're factual and accurate. If you can do that time and time again and make it entertaining, there's a lot to be said for that. I think success can be defined so many different ways, and you have to. This industry any art-based industry, music, film, pick your thing. There are so many talented people out there that so much of it is based on right place, right time, and getting lucky. These are all Pope-like jobs where so if somebody gets it, I mean, Tennessee just hired Mike Keith to be the voice of the Vols. 5 guys have held that job. That's nuts. You have to be so lucky to get in. And Mike Keith is a tremendous broadcaster and very deserving of that position. But you have to be so right place, right time that to judge your success based on the job that you get is unfair to you. As a broadcaster, as a sportscaster, as a musician, as a filmmaker, so on and so forth. So I think being able to, if this is what you want to do, and you can do it for a living, do it for a long time, and do it with repeated accuracy, trustworthiness, so on and so forth, that is a pretty good hallmark for success.
Within the job that you have now, it's not just broadcasting. There's a lot of tools that you have to have in your toolbox to be able to get the job done on a daily basis. How valuable is it in today's job market to be able to do things other than have a microphone either in your hand or a headset on?
I would say for the positions that I hire, I'm looking for people that, yes, they can get on air, but they have another skill set that is already developed. And then they have another skill set that they want to further develop. So somebody has a good tape, and they're also a really good writer, or they also have a really strong understanding of how sports statistics work, or they know how to operate graphic design and know the ins and outs of Photoshop and InDesign at a really high level. And then they're looking to build elsewhere. They want to get better as a video editor or something of that nature. And they're willing to use their time with us here as a sandbox to improve, broken record, get the reps at whatever it is that they're looking to get better, and utilize us as a tool for self-improvement. I think, especially with the athletic communication side of what I do, I'm to a point now where I can't imagine preparing for a game without that tool in my toolbox. If I had to go get ready for a game and I wasn't doing my own package of game notes for it, I'd lose my mind because it has everything I want, where I want it, and I know exactly where to go to get it. To tell you that Jack Browder has 20 double doubles and he's 9 away from matching Sean Jones for the career record for double doubles for a Carson-Newman men's basketball player. I know where that is. I know how to get it. I know where it's tracked. And if I didn't have it, it's gotten so ingrained that I don't know what I would do. I do know what I do. I'd be saying, all right, let me handle this for you because I know what I want and it's going to be what everybody else wants. And let me do this. But that is, I think that is such a, especially for young sportscasters, because my preparation as a senior in college involved, and again, we're going to date me here, and it sickens me, reading every beat writer, every article that came out about Marshall in the Charleston Gazette and the Charleston Daily Mail and the Herald Dispatch. Had the AP done anything special on the herd that week? Had Sports Illustrated done an article? And reading all that stuff and processing it and synthesizing it, and then repackaging it as my own in a game. I don't do that anymore. It's all my own data, my own chats with players. So I think that is, for how I prepared for games 16 years ago, I think the process that has developed as a consequence of the other things I've had to do here is highly valuable, and especially for um, somebody that's breaking into the industry, it is a great way to learn how to really prepare because you're by yourself, you're on an island. Uh, we're covered by a couple of papers locally here, but they're not filing a daily story about Carson-Newman football in football season. So I think that skill and the skills that are tangential with it, the graphic design, the video stuff, social media, it lets you be fairly well rounded in how you can then turn that back to promote the stuff that you're doing.
I want to leave you with this. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me since I become a sportscaster, and it's starting to trickle down now into high schoolers, people that are
Yeah.
14, 15 years old asking, hey, how do I become professional? How do I get onto Fox or CBS or whatever it may be? How do you think that broadcasters in general need to understand that this is a journey, that this will take some time, and to be happy with where they're at right now versus thinking, hey, I'm 14, 15, I want to be at Fox. It might take you 20, 25 years to get
Yeah.
there, and trying to fast forward through the career.
I do think you have to enjoy the process um, for what it is. And that goes back to the Frosty Western quote, make the big time where you are. If you were focused on making your current situation as good as it can possibly be, and improving yourself continually and continuously, people won't be able to not notice you. You are going to get traction and get noticed in whatever capacity that may be. It might be network uh, opportunities. It might be uh, promotions within the current realm, current existing realm that you're in. Um, I think everybody that does this uh, can appreciate how lucky they are to be doing this. Uh, I have all the respect in the world for uh, people that do physical labor. The, we we had to have a wall built to separate two rooms in our house when our second child arrived, uh, and so that's somebody's job. That I could not do that. I don't have the desire to do that. So I need to count my blessings every day of the week that I get to do what it is that I want to do, and that is at the end of the day, goof off and talk about sports, hopefully in a very professional, accurate manner. But let's be real, this is a fun thing that we get to do. So to get frustrated that you're not where you think you deserve to be or where you want to be. My first job out of my first job, I was a maintenance man for my mom was an elementary school principal, and one high school summer, uh, I went with her every day to work and be a maintenance man in her school. What did that involve? Hauling boxes of textbooks up 5 flights of stairs because there was no elevator in this wing of the building. I go do something that you don't want to do. I don't want to lug boxes of books up 5 flights of stairs. Have an appreciation that what we get to do is unique and fun, and that there are contests out there that have been run in my lifetime that people entered so that they could go anchor Sports Center. It's something that people want to do. So have an appreciation that you're getting to do it. Know that there are other jobs out there that are a whole lot more difficult than this. Um, And in those moments where you are frustrated, you're still getting to do what you want to do. Just make the big time where you are.
Adam, this has been a great conversation. Enjoy it as always, and best of luck with the rest of this school year.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Always good to chat.
That's the 2009 Jim Nantz Award winner, Adam Cavalier, on this episode of Next Level Sportscasting. We'll talk to you again next time.